I actually love all their food, so most people will be like, "What?" But their foods, they're kind of blandish. They eat the same thing over and over again over there, and so it was just getting used to eating the same thing every day. But they have some different foods. One of them is called fufu, and that was my favorite. I loved it so much. And it's pretty much a ball where they take cassava, a root, and they take plantain, which is sort of like a banana, and then they boil the two of them and mash them together into a dough, and then they put it in soup. And my favorite soup was peanut butter soup, is what we call it in America. They call it incatinquine. And it just, they'd put fish, or they'd put chicken, or they'd put goat, or they'd put whatever they could find inside. And then you just eat it with your hand and just pinch it off like this, and then take it and swallow it. So it took a little getting used to swallow it, because when I first left I couldn't swallow a pill, the smallest pill on the market, and I got to where I could swallow something that big by the end of my mission. And so it kind of freaks my family out just a little bit. But bonku, they have another thing called bonku. It's the same thing, except it's just cassava dough and in water, and then they stir it, and it will start to ferment and to harden into a ball as well. And then it's just the same thing, but they eat it a little differently with some different stuff. I still like it with the peanut butter soup, but they'll take peppers, and they'll take really hot jalapenos and ghost peppers and anything hot they can find, and they'll take onions and tomatoes and mash it all together and grind it into a salsa type thing. But it's a lot thicker, or not really thick, it's not watery or anything, it's just kind of there. And then you just dip it in and then swallow it, and that one would burn my throat, but I got used to it after time. They love spicy food a lot. And so there's another one called akbele. This is one that is very specific to the Ghana Accra mission because of the Volta region. Akbele is what the Aways eat, the Awe tribe. And it's just corn flour mixed in water and boiled until it becomes a dough. And that was another one of my favorites because it wasn't fermented like bonku. And so it was really fun that was something that I liked a lot to eat also with the soup. They had something called ampasi, which is what they loved in the eastern region, which is where the Akan tribe was. And ampasi is just, they take a yam, which is like a big, huge, long potato about this long, and they'll take it and slice it up into little slices, and then they'll boil it, and then they will give you like a tomato pasty type thing. We called it stew. Here in America we would call it spaghetti sauce, I guess. But they put vegetables and chicken and meat and different things inside. They just load it with stuff. And then you just take, and after it's boiled, you just take and break up off a piece about the size of your fingers, and then you just dip it in and chew it. That's the only food really you can chew over there without gagging it down. And that was something we ate a lot. Another food was rice. Rice was an everyday thing. We had fried rice. We had something called jollof rice, which is where they take tomato stew or spaghetti sauce, and they, instead of boiling rice in water, they boil it in that, and it becomes like Mexican rice. They have wache, which is rice and beans cooked together. They have just plain rice and stew, which is just plain rice with the stew put on top with a piece of chicken on the side. They love their rice. And they don't have dessert. They don't like sugar. So, well, I guess there's one dessert. We had it in the MTC for the first time, but they love something called Tom Toms, which is just a cough drop. It's just a cough drop with menthol in it. And so that was their dessert. They'd always give them to us and be like, here you go, here's dessert or something. Or they'd pull out a pineapple or a mango or coconut. So they're not really into sugar. In fact, I gave some kids in my first area some Smarties and some Kool-Aid, and their faces were priceless. They spit it out on the ground. They didn't want anything to do with it, and they actually ran over and grabbed some bonku and hurried and swallowed it to get the taste out of their mouth because they didn't want to taste it. And so they're just anti-sugar. And so we didn't really have desserts. They like really spicy things for their desserts as well. One thing they have is something called sobolo, which is a drink, and it's they take a leaf and boil it, and then they'll put different things inside. It's this red drink, but they'll always put either peppers or ginger inside to make it like kick, so it'll like burn your throat. It was the best way to get rid of a cold, but they'd always drink it by the cupful, like a cup this big. And so by the end of my mission, I was able to actually drink it. So, but that's about all they got for food. And then they just rotate those every day, and sometimes they'll branch out and get other things. They'll add variations. They'll use different plants or something, and so use different soups. They have different kinds of soups. One was called okra soup, or here we call it okra, and they just cut up an okra, and then they'll boil it, and it makes it really stringy and slimy, and so you just dip your stuff in there and eat it. And so I really liked it. And so I guess my advice for liking those foods, because it sounds like it wouldn't be that good, but I passed this around my mission. It was kind of it was a trick I had found. Is I was reading the Book of Mormon trying to figure out how I could eat, because when I first showed up, I thought I was going to die because I didn't eat anything. I didn't eat for like 2 days at a time because I didn't want to eat anything. And I found the scripture where Nephi says that they prayed over raw meat in the wilderness, that it would give them strength and they could actually eat it. And I started doing that. I started praying for a desire that the food would become more tasty to me, that it would become better to me. And it actually did, to the point where every time I ate American food towards the end of my mission, I would get sick, and I would have to stay in the apartment all day because I couldn't get out, because I'd just be done. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And so I'd just have to stick with their food. And even when I got home, it took me 6 months. It had to have been by April before I could actually eat every food we have here without getting sick. Sugar just about killed me. Everything about killed me. So for new missionaries going over there, pray that you'll learn to love the food and that you'll be able to handle it, because if you do, it'll help you throughout your entire mission.